Good afternoon, everyone. It is 1 o'clock Central Time, and we had an appointment at 1 o'clock. Welcome to MAPS Holiday Calls 2021 version. I personally am so glad you're here. Whether you're currently a MAPS client or you're considering becoming one, it's a pleasure to have you with me today. As you're all arriving, and as you arrive for any of the other fantastic MAPS holiday calls that you're going to be participating in, take a moment and update your name in the Zoom to include your location. You do that by clicking in the three little dots right next to where you should be muted, the three little dots in the upper right hand corner, and just change your name to your name and your location. After all, you do want to refer clients to learning-based agents like you, don't you? And after you update your name, go ahead and put that same information in your chat box.
Alarm is going off.
And where there's alarms going off, can we ask you to mute yourself, please? Thanks so much. Thanks so much. And this is a good time to check in and make sure if you're on this call, you should see a little red microphone in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. It should be red with a line through it. If it's not, tap on it and mute yourself. There are going to be different times where we're going to ask you to maybe come live and maybe share. And although we'll be doing a lot of that through our chat box. So keep that going. Keep updating your name. If you're just joining us now, update your name and throw it in the chat box. So let's go ahead and get started. Meet your coach. My name's Kara Moll. And for those of you that don't know me, I'm your host for Is Your Mind Using You? Uncovering Your Hidden Habits. I've been a MAPS transformational coach, for almost 7 years now, and I'm a master practitioner of neurolinguistic programming, an IPEX certified energy leadership coach, an EQ emotional intelligence certified practitioner, and I'm also a head coach within the MAPS ecosystem. I've had the honor and privilege of teaching a little program called The Language of Sales for over 4 years, and I am 100% sincere when I say that language and mindset are a passion of mine. And I know I've already seen several of the coaching clients that I have a privilege of working with. And boy, they can attest that language and mindset are two of the things that we focus on a lot. Now, at the end of today's call, we're going to be talking about some exciting updates to the Language of Sales program that are actually coming in 2022. And as we begin today, I want to first acknowledge my wonderful cyberbacker, Sheila Rivera, who's here and she's helping and she's letting all of you in the room today. She's going to be sharing some links in the box in a little bit, that type of thing. And she's like my right hand. So thanks for being here today, Sheila. And I want to take a moment and acknowledge all of you. You obviously have a desire to take your business and frankly your life to another level through your full participation in this webinar today. I mean, after all, your active participation clearly shows that you're living that bold law. Your business grows to the extent that you do. And my goal for today is to give you a peek into your habitual thinking and provide you with some practical ways to change any thought habits that aren't serving you. As a reminder, you're actually going to receive the recording of this call via a link in the MAPS community newsletter. So let's go ahead and get started. Take a moment right now. Take a moment now, unless you're driving in the car, okay? And if you are, don't do this exercise. But if you're sitting there and you're sitting someplace comfortable or you're sitting at your desk, take a moment right now and stop doing whatever you're doing. Just sit and be. Now, pay attention to your breathing as we just sit and be again. breathing is something we all do unconsciously. Until I drew your attention to it, you probably didn't realize you were doing it. I mean, you realized you were breathing, but because you're here and you're alive, but you didn't realize what went into that. You weren't consciously paying attention to it. Once I did, you most likely became aware of your chest moving, whether your breaths were through your nose or through your mouth, whether you were inhaling or exhaling. By paying attention to your breathing, you brought it from your unconscious to your conscious awareness. And as we move through this call, it's going to slip right back out of your conscience and right back into your unconscious awareness. I mean, can you just imagine if we had to consciously think of every movement, not only to breathe, but to keep our bodies alive? I mean, we wouldn't be able to do anything else. Yikes. Personally, I'm happy about that, because breathing and many of the other bodily processes that we have on an ongoing basis happen without me having to utilize my conscious awareness. They're habits my unconscious mind actually utilizes. So simply put, your conscious mind runs your body and has a significant impact on the results you create in your life. So does your unconscious mind. You can decide consciously that you want to achieve a goal. However, if your unconscious mind is not in alignment with that goal, well, then it's going to take over with its own agenda or its own plan for what it believes is best for you. I mean, the key to bringing your unconscious and conscious together, and we often show it like this, or hands moving together. The key to doing that and bringing our conscious and unconscious minds into alignment is to understand how each of them work. The Google.com online dictionary, because that's where we find most of our information these days, right? Google. The Google.com online dictionary defines the word habit as a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. Today, we're going to dive into your mental or your thinking habits. What we're talking about today is a key component of neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP. Remember, we've got neuro, which is what we think, linguistic, what we say, which includes verbal and nonverbal, and programming, which is what we do. So a quick little review for those who might be in one of the classes I've taught, or language of sales, is that NLP is the study of what we think, we say, and what we do. It's a method of influencing our brain's behavior, the neuro part, through the use of language, the linguistic part, and other types of communication that enable a person to actually recode the way the brain responds to stimuli, which is, the programming. Like you'd code a computer, you would write code and it would code the computer. That's the programming. And then through this, we can manifest new and different behaviors and outcomes. In NLP, your conscious mind is the part of your mind that has awareness of things and at any moment in time. Think of your conscious as the tip of the iceberg. It's the tip of the iceberg, the part which is much smaller than the unconscious mind. Let me go back for a sec. It's smaller than the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind would be the part of the iceberg that's actually hidden, the part below the surface, the part that we don't see, but we know it's big and vast because science tells us that. It's the part below the surface. Each part of our mind excels at different things. The conscious works linearly, logically, and it assists with things like language and math. The unconscious works creatively, holistically, and emotionally. So you can see that on there if you want to take these as notes. The unconscious mind, as it works on the emotion and handles emotions and intuition, like we talked about earlier, actually runs our bodies. The key to breaking habits is, again, to get both parts of them in alignment. So let's start with understanding the unconscious mind. Envision the iceberg. Envision it. Do you have your visual in your mind? Your unconscious mind is that tip and the part we can see, right? So what we want to do is waiting for my teleprompter to catch up. For every unconscious element, we're going to give you something to break that cycle. So as we get both parts working together, we're going to focus today on the unconscious mind, and we're going to get both parts working together. So you can see if this applies to you, and what you might want to do to reprogram that unconscious mind. So here we go. Here's element number 1. The unconscious mind doesn't process negatives. The unconscious mind doesn't process negatives. That's right. It interprets everything as a positive thought. So if you think, well, I don't want to gain weight through the holidays, your unconscious mind focuses on the words gain weight and everything you associate with gaining weight. Gaining weight then becomes the goal of the unconscious mind. And just like a little child who loves to please, it helps you behave in a way, well, that actually keeps you doing what? Gaining weight, right? So consider this instead. Consider stating goals in the positive. Stating goals in the positive. Tell yourself you desire to maintain your current weight through the holidays. And representations will be made to your unconscious of what it would be like for you to maintain your weight. I mean, picture yourself fitting in your jeans. Picture yourself not having to wear the baggy clothes. Your unconscious mind will actually bring those things to the forefront and help you achieve that goal. Now, here's something that will make it even more powerful. In addition to just stating goals in the positive, write the affirmations out. Verbally recite it to yourself. Post it where you can see it, like on your bathroom mirror in front of your desk, or maybe as the screensaver on your phone so it pops up and you see it, or as the screensaver on your computer. Your unconscious will notice it even if your conscious does not, and you'll have a much better chance at actually maintaining. So that's the first one. Our unconscious mind doesn't process negatives. So let's move on to the next element of our unconscious mind. The unconscious mind, well, it needs direction. It needs direction. Those in tune with their unconscious, like philosophers or yogis, they describe the unconscious as a mischievous little monkey, always looking to jump around from tree to tree to tree to tree to tree. The way to keep the monkey in check is to actually stick a pole in the ground and actually direct it to use its energy to climb up and down. If your conscious doesn't provide direction for your unconscious, well, your unconscious is just going to jump around from place to place, and it's going to create chaos, and it may create habitually chaotic and destructive thinking for you. Those are patterns you don't want to create. So what's the solution? Well, consider this. Consider meditating. Open up communication between the two minds via meditation. Some of you might call that quiet time, or utilizing some other relaxation techniques. I'm personally a huge fan of all the meditation apps that are available right now. Apps like Calm or Headspace, or my personal favorite is called Breathe. And they allow you to listen to guided meditations on a variety of subjects. They can be 60 seconds long, they can be hours long, depending on what you're looking for. Or just listen to, if it's not a guided meditation, someone actually talking in a soothing voice, guiding you towards something. That's what a guided meditation is. Maybe it's just listening to some vibes that are out there that actually hit your unconscious brainwaves and allow them to connect with your conscience. It's amazing what a few minutes of focused meditation can do for you. Now, I'm going to talk to all those people right now And I know there may be one or two of you on this call that say, you know, I can't meditate. Every time I've tried, I've fallen asleep. I always fall asleep. Well, consider that's exactly why you need to be meditating. When that happens, the neuroscientists tell us it's because your brain is in overload. It's in overload. It's constantly moving and moving and moving. So what does it do? It shuts down by allowing you to go to sleep. So that's exactly why you should be meditating. Your brain going into overload. So build a habit. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. So let's look at the next element. The next element, oh, and let's be sure we're muted. The next element to the unconscious mind is that it is the keeper of our memories. That's right. Our unconscious mind keeps our memories. There was actually a study done in 1957. It was part of a much larger study called the Penfield study that concluded all of your experiences are recorded in your memory. Every single experience you've ever had, it's in there. It's in your head. It's in your memory. I personally picture my unconscious mind this way. Have you ever seen the movie National Treasure with Nicolas Cage? I mean, it's an old movie. It's maybe 20 years old now, maybe 15, not really sure. At the end of the movie, a torch is lit, or Nicolas Cage, he's a treasure hunter. And at the end of the movie, a torch is lit, and in it, it lights up this humongous warehouse. It's filled with millions and millions of little treasures and gold and gems and valuables. I mean, the entire treasure's there. However, if you look at it from the outside, it doesn't look to be sorted at all. Or if it is, it's, well, sorted pretty chaotically to us as viewers. If someone were to go for and look for one specific gem, well, it might take a really, really long time to find it. Your memories are stored and sorted. That's the job of the unconscious. They're all there. Every single thing, like I said, you've ever seen, heard, felt, tasted, touched, experienced, it's all there. Just may take some time to find them. So if this is true, and we have plenty of evidence to believe it is, then wouldn't it make sense that part of the function of that unconscious mind is to also repress or push down any negative memories, to file them away and keep us safe? Consider this real life example. I know someone who had horrible, I'm just saying terrible anxiety around making cold calls. And in our business, things like circle calling FISBOs, expireds, well, they're key strategies to growing our database and generating more business. Well, while working with her coach, this person recalled a memory that she had suppressed. She was 7 or 8, and she was sitting at the table for family dinner when the phone rang. Thinking she was being helpful, she jumped up and she politely answered the phone, and the caller had asked for her mother. She asked the caller to hold and told her mom, Mom, it's for you. And the mom asked, who is it? And the girl replied she didn't know. And the mom aggressively grabbed the phone from the girl and said, hello. On the other end, well, it was a telemarketer. And the mom became infuriated, absolutely infuriated. First yelling at the telemarketer and then yelling at the little girl. Do you think that negative experience would be one that the unconscious mind might repress? And that maybe in order to keep that little girl, who's now a woman, safe and comfortable, because we already said that's what our unconscious mind does, right? The unconscious was sending a message every time she went to go pick up the phone. What do you think that message was? Go ahead and put it in the chat box. What do you think the message was that little girl was receiving every time she went to go pick up a phone? So give it a minute. Go ahead. Put your answers in there. rejection, don't make mommy mad, anger, don't answer the phone, cold calling is dangerous, it's bad, it isn't safe, it's not nice. Right, disapproval, neglect, you're bothering someone, rejection, bad, etc. I think all of you are right. She probably had all of those feelings. Now, what the little girl had said, her specific was, don't make cold calls. They make people angry. Now, once the little girl realized that and was able to unwind the story in her mind, well, she was able to understand that her mom was angry because the beautiful dinner that she had worked so hard to prepare was being interrupted. And if we're really being honest and dissecting the situation, there were probably a handful of other things that all added up to help set the mom off. The little girl now understood it wasn't about the call, or it wasn't about the person on the other end, that quite possibly it was just about bad timing, right? So consider this. Work with a professional. If you've got something that you want to do and you're being held back and you don't know why, consider working with a professional like a MAPS transformational coach or a coach from our new MAPS life coaching division to unravel some stories that are keeping you from moving forward. We all have unconscious stories that our mind is habitually telling us. Are yours serving you? And if not, consider that as a type of coaching. Let's look at the next element. The next element. The fourth element that we're talking about here, even though I know there's a 5 on the screen, that's because it's slide number 5. The fourth element that we're talking about is your unconscious mind is a learning machine. Yep, it is a learning machine. It thrives on new experiences and craves being fed, and it may get you into trouble if you don't feed it. I was recently told a story of someone who was really smart, clever, a great person, very intelligent, who got bored on the job. Like many people who work on computers daily, especially in this time of COVID and things like that, when we're working remotely and you're by yourself, well, instead of finding something constructive to do to stimulate his mind, well, he started playing the occasional video game, right? Harmless. A little video game here, video game there. Well, that led to doing some online gambling, which led to a financial mess, as you can imagine. So fast forward, the gentleman got a new job with lots of challenges to keep his brain stimulated. He's now very successful and has put the gambling behind him. He is still cleaning up the financial mess, though. That's the lingering effect. So consider this. Consider finding constructive ways to keep your mind occupied. Things like reading, doing puzzles, hobbies like knitting, things like that actually make the brain cells grow and keep you in shape mentally. Just like your body needs exercise, your brain needs mental exercise. Go ahead and put in the box, what's your favorite mental exercise? We've got hundreds of people on the call. Can't wait to see what you all do. Share your favorite. Chess, playing games on phone, arts and crafts, cycling, games, playing solitaire, reading, Sudoku, meditation, solitaire. I don't know what Pineo is, but it sounds interesting. I'm going to have to look that up. Puzzles, anything creative, a bubble bath and wine. Right. I would say we need something to stimulate the mind. That might go for the meditation. And I'm not opposed to it. Right. Early morning walks, reading crossword puzzles. So consider too that there's actually been a variety of studies that say that if you aren't stimulating your brain, it it accelerates the speed at which brain cells begin to die. This is sometimes why we see in older people, they're saying part of the cause for some different types of dementia actually come from the fact that people aren't using their brain. They're not mentally working out their brain. So consider doing things that keep your brain occupied. And whatever you're doing, if it's not on your calendar, put it on your calendar. Your mental health depends on it the same way your physical health does. I love that. Love that. And Jill, thanks for sharing that little tidbit in the box. So let's look at the fifth element. And this is an interesting one. The unconscious mind behaves like a highly moral being. Highly moral being. Now stick with me on this one. One of the presuppositions, or what we would call the foundational blocks of NLP, is that all behavior begins with a positive intent. Meaning whatever you learned as a morality is a guidepost for you, even if society deems it as incorrect. Let's look at an extreme example. Terrorism. A terrorist can kill and destroy because he or she believes that they are fighting an immoral society and they're actually honored to enact those behaviors. They literally believe that what they're doing is right and moral, while the rest of society looks at it and says, yeah, I don't think so. It's negative behavior that begins with a positive intent. On the flip side, you have people like Nelson Mandela and Gandhi, and and Mother Teresa, they were able to create positive societal movements because they so strongly lived and believed in their ideas of freedom and fairness, or their moralities. Consider this. Assess your moral choices and make sure they're in alignment with your goals. In coaching, we often call these moral choices our values. And when you're crystal clear on what your values mean to you, it's very easy to make choices that are in alignment with those values. When someone's feeling unfulfilled, and many people feel that way this time of year, or maybe you're feeling lost on your career path, or maybe you know someone who is. One of the first places we as MAPS transformational coaches start is by focusing in on values. Now, you may be thinking, wow, that's pretty simple. I know what's important to me. That's really only half of the equation, though. Knowing the word, and I'm going to call it this, the word, well, that's just the descriptive label of the value. Well, that's one thing. And identifying with absolute clarity what it means or doesn't mean to you and how to apply it is on another level. So for instance, a person may have a value of freedom, right? Freedom. So take a moment and in your mind, define what freedom means to you. And just envision the picture of what freedom means to you. Okay, you've got a picture and you all know what that means. Is that what it means to the person that has it as their top value, though? Do every single one of you on this call have the same meaning behind the word freedom? Most likely not. You see, I work with a client who defines freedom as financial abundance and travel. Now, if I chunk that down for our purposes, it's making a lot of money and being able to travel wherever and whenever she wants. What do you think the last 20 months with COVID has been like for her? Go ahead, put it in the box. What do you think the last 20 months with COVID has been like for her? I mean, freedom, it's financial abundance and travel, constraining, hell, painful, prison, horrible, miserable, stuck, Confinement, torture, exactly. I love all the words you guys are coming up with. Restricting, not very freeing. Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's been ups and downs for sure. Because the nice part is, as an agent, this has been one of our most lucrative years in real estate. So, I mean, she's killing her goals and really creating a lot of monetary abundance. Yay! And she can't travel anywhere. So it's been stifling. And because she's crystal clear on this, we were able to work on things like weekend getaways that that well, they fulfill her freedom value. So think about this one. I really want you to take a moment and think about this as we enter the holidays. Maybe you know this person. It's the real estate agent who says, family is my number one value. And unless someone knows what the word family means to him or her, a person can show up in conflict and not even realize it. Consider the agent who is a parent and says, my family is my priority, and then spends every little league game on their phone, or can't be at dinner because they got that last minute call to show a house to a buyer they haven't even pre-qualified yet. Is family really their value? I say yes, and that value just hasn't been defined yet. So let's give that agent a little bit of grace. And here's why. Because he or she is making choices on his or her unconscious mind, and those choices are just what? Habits. Habits. As we went through each of the ways our unconscious mind habitually uses us, I presented you with some ideas for you to use to make changes to your unconscious thinking, your habitual thinking. In addition to these ideas, well, there's a very easy four-pronged success formula. And while you can apply this formula to short-term goals, it's really effective when applied to long-term or life goals. So let's take a peek. The first step is to know your outcome. The first step of the success formula, know your outcome. And the clearer you are, the better. The clearer you can see what you want, the easier it is to obtain. Many of you remember this example. If you were ever in Classic Bold, you remember it. You say, I want more money. And I open up my wallet and I hand you $1. Congratulations, you've achieved your goal. Now, is that really what your goal was? Yeah, I don't think so. Dream big and create a clear picture. Don't let maybe it's not what I want. Maybe I can't do it. Don't let that thought creep in. Don't let that thought keep you stagnant. Chances are your goal may change and grow because you're growing and changing. Don't let the fear of not being able to clearly see it stop you from moving towards it. Right? Step 2. This is an important one. Get into action, and get into action quickly. As we know, the first step is usually the hardest. Nike got it right. Just do it. Just do it. The only way to run a marathon is by taking the first step, and then another, and then another, and then another, and knowing that you can always do one more. In fact, a friend who was working with a running coach told me that the mantra she got from her coach was the chant of one more with every step when things got more difficult. Why? Because you can always take one more. When you feel like you can't do anything else, you can always do one more. So get into action. Step 3. This one's fun. Tune into your sensory awareness. Okay, what that means is use your senses to determine if something is working or if it isn't. You'll feel it. You'll see it. You'll hear it. It's called feedback. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. Gather feedback from step 3, assess and take action, like we talked about in step 2. And lastly, remember this: maintain flexibility in your thinking. Stay flexible in your thinking and in your behavior, because if something isn't working, do something differently. The best advice I can give you on this is that when you start any journey, again, you're going to grow and change. You are literally not the same person you were 35 minutes ago when we started this webinar. Your mind has been stretched. We've made new deposits into your treasure warehouse. What you do with them, honestly, that's up to you. So in a few moments, I'm going to take some time to answer any questions that you might have specific to what we discussed. And first, I'd like to hear a few learns from you today. So if you'd like to share a learn, use the hand raise feature on your toolbar in Zoom. Raise your hand and we'll call on you. And again, we've got hundreds of people on this call. Don't be shy. Or if you'd like, you can put your learn. I hope I'm going to say it right. Shireen, go ahead and unmute yourself. What was your big aha today as it applies to you?
I was fascinated by the fact that the brain does not perceive negatives.
Yes. That's always one that people are shocked about. And that's why here's a great example of that too, Shireen. So thanks for bringing that up. If you've ever been at a pool and you see like a little kid running by and the parent goes, stop running. The little child's brain literally hears running and goes. So the better thing is to say, walk or stop. Now walk or slow down. So be careful when you're out there giving directions to people that you're telling them the right directions, the directions that their brain is going to recognize. So thanks for sharing that. I love that aha.
I have a question about that, Kara.
Yes.
So then how would you formulate, for instance, you said maintain your weight goal, but what if you actually wanted to lose weight? That's a negative.
Okay. That's a great thing. And I know a couple of my clients on this call are chuckling right now because we've had this discussion at various points in time. What happens when you lose something, Shireen? What do you want to do automatically?
You want to look for it.
Right. You want to go find it. I personally believe that's why we have so much yo-yo dieting in our society. So what you want to do is you want to redistribute. If you think in the terms, I'm going to give you a quick 60-second quantum physics. If you think in the terms of quantum physics, everything is energy. The energy can't be destroyed. It can only be redistributed. So if you think to yourself, I'd like to redistribute some pounds from my personal being elsewhere, that's a great way to look at it. The last thing we want to do is say, I want to lose weight. What you might want to focus on is, I'm getting healthy. I'm eating better. Take the specific activity and put that into the positive. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. And is it Hina or Hina? Hina? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Hina. Thanks for being here today, Hina. What was your learn?
My learn was, it says that the unconscious mind needs direction.
Yes.
I mean, for me, it was an aha moment for me because it's always direction. I associated it with the conscious mind because it's like when we are saying it's that we always have a choice whether to do it or not to do it. And that's a conscious decision.
Right.
But that conscious decision has a lot to do with the unconscious minds I
It
wasn't
absolutely
aware about
does.
that.
It absolutely does. And thanks for sharing that. And that's a big aha, right? So that's why we always say, be careful what you're programming into your mind, because that program is going right into the unconscious. I always kind of put it like back here. It's going into the unconscious, that big warehouse, and it's going to stay there. So here's what the way this shows up for people sometimes. I've worked with clients in the past that had issues sleeping or sleeping well during the night. And what we found out they were doing is they were actually watching TV, like, true crime mysteries or even some really good crime shows or things before they went to bed. That leaves them mentally unsettled. So what we decided to do was put something different in, and using either one of the meditation apps that we talked about, or watching something pleasant before bed. And it's interesting over time how they started to reprogram out of the habits of the watching the TV and into something that was positively serving them. So thanks for sharing that learn, Hannah. Let's go with Becky. We'll go Becky and Dan. So Becky first.
Yeah, in addition to what's already been shared, just the importance of connecting the unconscious mind with the conscious mind. I really had not considered that before, and I love the tips that you've given to do that.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thanks for being here. So Dan, what was your learn?
It was just a reminder about the value of meditation, and really just slowing down and taking a moment to just become aware of what you're doing. We're so used to doing what we do that we're sometimes not aware of our habits and behaviors. And I wrote awareness is transformational in the chat before getting on. Mm-hmm. And that quiet time gives you a moment to pause and just think about what you're doing. And very often we're not aware of what we're doing. We just do.
You're absolutely right. Like we talked about breathing, right? So many things. If I asked you to describe to someone who's never driven before, that was standing looking at a car, the process of driving, imagine all the steps you would have to tell them to do. And yet our brain knows habitually and automatically how to do those things. So all you're talking about is reprogramming your brain in a way that's actually serving you versus not serving you. So awareness, I'm gonna say awareness can be transformational. It's that step number 2 on the success formula. Get into action. You got to do something with it. So thanks for sharing. Last share before we wrap up, a couple great bits of information I have for you. Janet.
I just had a quick question. What were the names of those meditation apps?
They were Calm, CALM, Breathe, BREETHE. I know that's not the way you really spell breathe. And then Headspace is another one. And I've tried them all. Breathe is my favorite. I think it's probably the most economical too. Something like a year for, a minimal amount. And then they're on many different topics. So thanks. All right. We've got one more. Thelma, what was your learn from today? Thelma went away. Thelma, come off of mute.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh, that little thing you said when there's a little girl or running around, and you would say, and I have a 3.5-year-old daughter, and she likes to run around, and I keep saying, Madison, please stop running. Now I would start saying that stop
or walk or
stop,
sit
or
still,
what
or you want to reprogram it with something positive. We don't want to say, don't run, because all you're telling her to do is run. What we want to say is stop, or let's sit still. Okay. Reprogram in the positive. So thanks for sharing that. So I've got some exciting news for you. For those that are interested in learning more about NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, I'm authoring a new program that's going to include the principles from Language of Sales, vastly expand on what we did here today, and help you be the author of a stronger business in life. And Sheila, go ahead and put that link in the chat box for everybody. Sheila's going to put the link in the chat box. And what this link is going to do is if you click on it, it's just a form where we can grab your information. And when we actually launch the program with the working title, Influential Communication, the anticipated launch is Q2 of 2022. There's a lot of twos there. We will make sure that you get that information. So the link is in there. It's if you're interested in this. Sheila, also go ahead and put my email address in the box too. So if anybody has any questions about this, you guys, you're more than welcome to email me directly. All right. So take a moment, and before we go, I want you to just do one more thing. Want you to breathe again. Only this time, focus on calm, focus on peace, focus on serenity, focus on stillness. Take a big deep breath. And let it out. And I'm going to hang around for a few minutes and answer any additional questions you have. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm MAPS Coach Kara Moll, and it's been my privilege to spend time with you. Happy holidays from everybody at MAPS Coaching.
Thank you, and happy holidays to you as well.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much.
Bye-bye.
All right. If anybody has any questions, again, just feel free to use the hand raise.
Thank you, Kara.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. I can't see everybody, so because I have the screen up. So whoever's saying thank you, I appreciate it. Dan, go ahead and unmute yourself. Your hand is up.
Yes, it is. Hey, thank you so much. This is awesome. I'm so glad that I remembered to join you today.
Me too.
Yeah. So part of my reason for specifically wanting to or adding this session to my calendar is because I learned a little bit about neuro-linguistic programming from John Vandergeist, who is my coach, and John is amazing. And I was looking into or inquiring about taking the there's a NLP certification program, and I forgot the name of the organization, but I wanted to ask if you would talk to me or us about that a little bit more, and how that's what I was planning on putting on my growth plan for this summer or this fall, in addition to taking language of sales again. And those were two things that I'm looking at right here in front of me.
Fantastic. Well, here's what I can say about it, because it is not a MAPS endorsed course, if you will, through the Empowerment Partnership. I would say, Dan, talk to John about that, or email me, kara@karamoll.com, and we can discuss that option as well as a couple others to really ascertain, the purpose behind it and which program would be the best for you. Happy to point you in the right direction.
Appreciate that. And you said Jen was the other person?
No, John. Talk to John, your coach.
Oh, John.
Yeah,
okay.
John VG. Yeah, okay. Dr. JVG or me, and we're happy to put you in the right direction. Okay.
I appreciate it. I'll send that out right now. Thank you.
My pleasure. Michael from Vancouver. You've been waiting so patiently.
Thank you so much, Kara.
Of course. What can I answer for you?
It's super enlightening, and I'm glad this came into my schedule. Honestly, one question I had about getting clear on your values, because I believe that's something where I struggle a little bit, or maybe quite a lot. Is what are some tips or some little exercises to help really discover those values and to get deeper into what those possibly mean to the individual?
Absolutely. So let me first ask you a few questions, if that's okay, Michael. Are you currently a MAPS client?
I'm not.
Okay. We do have we can do through our transformational coaching department a values elicitation where we could help you figure that out. I can also point you in the direction of some really simple ways to find them. Have you ever taken career visioning?
I had, but it was years ago, and it was
okay. Have
yeah.
you ever done a KPA?
It's been a while.
Okay. All right. So what you may want to do is, if you can have your team leader, first of all, I would do your KPA, just take it again, have your team leader verify it, and then ask for your whole KPA package, because towards the back of it, career visioning is a whole process to hire someone, right? And there's 4 main steps. And the last interview is called a motivational interview, which really, in essence, when you answer the questions and you do it on 4 different topics, you're looking for commonalities in words, and it becomes a values exercise. So that's an easy way to identify values. What's more important, Michael, then, is you looking at that word and saying, well, what does that mean for me? If I'm using that word as a measuring stick, what does it mean? And if you many times people start out and go, well, I'm not really sure what it means. Have a column and go, okay, what doesn't it mean? Because if it doesn't mean, like, let's say that the example I gave, it doesn't mean not being able to travel. Well, then what's the opposite of that? Probably it's travel. What's important about travel? Why is it travel? And if you know how that feeds you, you're able to use that as a litmus test through life when you're making decisions. If something doesn't feel right, it's most likely because it's not in alignment with your values, or you haven't defined how it could be in alignment with your values. Is that making sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect.
Great.
And if you have questions on transformational coaching or life coaching through MAPS, life coaching, there's absolutely no business to discuss. It's on a specific thing that's going on in your life, health, relationships, whatever, with a coach that specializes in that. They can work with you on values, as can our transformational coaches. Great. So if you have any questions, just reach out. Okay.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Sheila, you've been waiting so patiently. Sheila Rollins from, I don't know where.
I'm from Rockwell, Texas, outside of Dallas.
Rockwell, Texas. Thanks for being in the house, y'all.
I think you answered my question. I am in regular coaching right now, just the one that's what I don't.
We call it production, production.
Yeah,
and, regular.
I've been, and I'll make this real quick. I've been a very successful agent, and then I moved a year ago, and it's been a really tough year. I've continued to work in Corpus Christi and had a lot of business there, but you said the word transformation earlier, so there is transformational coaching.
Yes, it's the same. It's a different type of coach within the MAPS ecosystem. It's still a mastery contract or a breakthrough contract. However, it focuses on diving deeper into I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm just not doing it. A great example of this, Sheila, would be, the person, if I asked any person in this country over the age of 10, what would someone have to do to lose weight? Give me one thing they would have to do. I'd probably get a million different answers, right? Sure. Everybody knows what they need to do to get rid of pounds. However, we live in one of the most obese societies there is. Why is that? Well, people know what to do, and telling someone do more isn't the answer. There's some sort of a block in the unconscious. So the same way with the I want to call her the little girl, the woman that we unraveled this story about why she was petrified to make cold calls. There's something in everybody's programming that creates the story. So if you remember, for the old bold, you get the program, thoughts, feelings, actions, results. And in transformational coaching, what we start to do is unravel those stories that aren't serving you and shine a flashlight on possible other chapters in that story. So if you're interested in that, you can talk with your coach about it, or your current coach about it. You feel free to reach out to me or anybody in the MAPS BGA team, which are the business growth advisors, and they can absolutely point you in the direction, but you really should start with your current coach.
With my coach. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. In that partnership, I mean, that's important to go, listen, I think I need a little something different right now, some stuff I want to work on. And we all within the MAPS ecosystem 100% understand that.
Okay.
That there are different reasons, seasons for coaches.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Anybody else? Anybody else going once?
This is Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. Yes. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi. I was so late and I was just listening on my phone and I could not do anything, raise my hand or,
Okay.
So now that I'm back, I was just wondering if there are any notes that we can, that we can access from this, because I was in and out.
Elizabeth, you'll actually get the full recording. They'll be sent out. I know they said that they're going out in our Friday communication. So I don't know if that means that we have a communication that goes out on a Friday and a Monday. I don't know if that means this week or if it's next week after all the calls are done, but you will get the recording on that MAPS, and you can always reach out to maps@kw.com and ask them, hey, I want that recording. When can I have it? And they'll send it over to you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And then I think Carlos, you had your hand up for a moment. Carlos Cardenas. Cardenas, yes, and you disappeared because you put your hand down, so I can't see you. So please have a chat. What can I help you with?
Can you see me now?
I can. There you are. I feel like we were in a commercial there for a second.
Right. Okay. So again, I've never actually just sent you an email about this because you were about to end it. But I was wondering, I've only done productivity coaching. Mm-hmm. I've never done MAPS. How much is it? What's your experience with it like?
My experience has been amazing. However, I might be a little biased. No, 100% serious when I say I've used to, when I came to KW years ago, I had a coach with a different company and was production based. And when I came here, I started working with a MAPS coach who had a background in the things that we talked about today and many others, and what I found was I responded better to that type of coaching because I'm not the one, if you tell me to do more, I'm not going to do more if I don't understand why I should be doing more or how it's serving me or not. And I realized that through my interest in my changing and my morphing into a different person, that's exactly why I ended up becoming a coach and started to study this stuff myself, because I thought if I could change, anybody could change. Right. Seriously.
And what about the what is it called, transformational coaching?
Yes, transformational coaching. Yes.
Because I agree with what you said, where it's like what you're supposed to do, but something's not clicking.
Right. You're running habitual thinking patterns in the back of your head. Mm-hmm. You can't explain why or why not you're doing what you're doing. You just know you don't feel good about it, and it's not serving you. What I would suggest you do is we can set up an exploratory call with you for an appointment with a MAPS transformational coach who can kind of would do what I would call a needs analysis to decide, is this something that makes sense for you right now? And I will tell you, when it comes to our transformational coaching side, we're not pushy, we're not salesy. We're working with you to achieve your goals, whatever those goals are. And that's our focus. So I'll check for the email and I'll put you in touch with the right person who can do that needs analysis for you. Does that sound great?
Yeah, of course. And in case the email gets lost, you want me to put my email and send it to you in the chat, or
Go ahead. Sheila, will you grab Carlos's email, please? Thank you. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. All right. Anybody else? We've got about 2 minutes left. We are almost at the top of the hour. And short of anybody else raising their hand right now, I just want to thank you all that are left, for being here today, for sharing an hour of your life during this busy time to work on yourself. It's been my honor and privilege. Have a great holiday season. we'll see you in 2022. Bye-bye, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.